Dillon Brooks isn't coming back under any circumstances. Let's go.
Thought you were just chanting MVP for me.
Start with last night, though. Be honest. Who thought James Harden still had this under any circumstances? None of you, right? Even he said he hadn't felt being in the zone like that in a minute. So for him to drop 45, including the clutchest basket of this game in the last seconds for Philly to win in Boston in Game 1 without Embiid, that is a headline. And on the other side, how the Celtics are losing these leads late constantly, another headline. And how they matched up against Harden on that last shot, also a headline. Israel, around the horn to you, credit blame game. What percentage is credit to Philly? What percentage is blame to Boston?
Well, I'm always one to give more credit to the performer who did well, so I'm going to go 51% James Harden because I want to give him more credit than blame. But the Celtics deserve their share of blame here, and that's going to be 49%. So I think back to last year's playoffs when the Miami Heat played the Philadelphia 76ers, and Eric Spoelstra said about Embiid and Harden, you have to treat both of them like they're Hall of Famers and scheme for them individually as such. And it felt like the Celtics just came into a game without Joel Embiid and said, we'll handle whatever they bring to us under our normal defense. And they couldn't do that. They had James Harden consistently facing a drop coverage that he was dominating, frankly. And in the end, with Game 1 on the line, you have Al Horford out there on an island against James Harden, which is unfair to Al Horford. So you have to give the Celtics their share of blame, but also not just on that. And you look at the offensive end of the 16 turnovers. This is a team that's supposed to have learned from its finals experience last year, not waste games, not waste opportunities. They had to go 7 games with the Bucks last year. Probably shouldn't have had to do that if they were more focused. And this was a winnable game for them without Embiid, and they let James Harden take it from them. That's a bad performance by the Celtics.
So if we're opening up the hood on this car here, you're saying 51% Harden, 49% Boston last night. Ramona Shelburne, welcome back. Join us.
I did not wear this Kelly green in support of the Boston Celtics, but you know what? 70% of the blame needs to go on the Celtics, right? James Harden went down the court every single time and looked and said, where's Al Horford? Where's Horford? I'm going to hunt that matchup. And instead, Boston never made an adjustment. They did that the entire game. I was yelling at my TV, change it up. Harden is killing him in the same matchup every time. And I don't know if this is just Joe Mazzulla not being willing to make that switch in the middle of the game, but not making that defensive switch. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combining to score 10 points in the fourth quarter. When James Harden had 15, that's not how you win a game at home in Game 1 when the other team's best player's out. I can't believe Boston let that one go.
Pablo Torre, process this for us. What was the credit? What was the blame?
Tony, 150% James Harden deserves the credit here, okay? We have been blaming him for doing everything that he was the opposite of last night, okay? Oh, he's a tax attorney who just games the system and gets to the free throw line. He had 4 free throw attempts last night. He doesn't play defense. Did you watch him defend 4 separate actions on that possession that ended with Tyrese Maxey going the other way for that layup, him and Tobias Harris gaming the system on the Celtics offense? Did you see him nail that shot at the end after being told that he was the most unclutch bedwetter among NBA superstars in this sport? Everything we said James Harden was, he did not do last night, and he deserves all of the credit because he finally came through and delivered the best playoff game of his life.
And David Dennis Jr., your answer.
I'm going to go Price is Right style on Ramon and say 71% blame for the Celtics, 29 for the 76ers. As much as
more. Okay,
and one more, a little bit more. We're trying to win here. I think James Harden. I don't want to disparage his performance at all. He was responsible for 60 points for that 76ers team, carried that offense. But to everybody's point, pretty much, how long are we going to watch Al Horford out beyond the 3-point line defending once in a lifetime offensive players? This basically cost them the NBA Finals last year. Trae Young cooked them last series, and now he's out there with James Harden trying to defend him, and that cost them, the last possession. But offensively, Harden had 15 points in the fourth quarter. Tatum and Brown combined for 10 in the fourth quarter. Like, what are you doing in your offensive sets? Why is Marcus Smart running that last possession and causing turnovers when the ball should be in your best player's hands?
Oh, many turnovers.
A lot of turnovers. But then let me ask you, combining the turnovers and that Philly won this game without Embiid in Boston, a harbinger of things to come in this series, Israel? Did it change the way you think the series might go?
It does, and there are a lot of signs. And the last sign that I will point to here is the thing that make you panic a little bit if you're the Boston Celtics. Joe Mazzulla basically played a 7-man rotation in Game 1 of the second round against the Sixers without Embiid. 7 guys, basically. And that's not showing a whole lot of depth. And when your main 2 guys don't carry you down the stretch, you're probably looking at yourself saying, hey, why are we the favorites to win it all right now? It's all coming down to that one game. They're going to ask themselves all those questions going forward.
Pablo Torre.
And Doc Rivers outcoached Joe Mazzulla. Doc Rivers is infamously bad at in-game, in-series adjustments. He went to zone after halftime, and it worked. And then he went back to man. They switched everything on that last possession. I did not expect this from Doc Rivers, but the more this Doc Rivers I get, the better my life is going to be.
And Ramona, is this Philly series now?
I mean, it's almost like Doc Rivers has had some good coaching moments in the Boston Garden.
Yes,
right?
that's true too.
I mean, like I think they're going to get Embiid back. Game 2, probably. If not Game 2, then by Game 3, he's taking his time. But they just bought Joel the opportunity to rest even more on that knee.
Yes.
And I think that was
David Dennis,
not
are
expected
you
at
now
all.
turning the tide here to Philadelphia in this series?
Yeah, if Joel Embiid can come back in Game 3 healthy, I mean, the Celtics have not played a good game since the first playoff game of this season. They're looking, bad right now, and if Embiid's going to be back by Game 3, I think the 76ers series to win.
We move on. The other game last night, Nuggets 97, Suns 87, and how the game turned when Chris Paul went out with the groin injury, and how that groin is looking today. Phrasing, really. But nonetheless, what it means going forward. Durant never got going. Ho-hum 39-16 for Jokic on the eve of the MVP announcement. Pablo, is this series already setting on the Suns before they even play a home game under any circumstances?
It really does. It really feels like this entire series is a groin punch appropriately for Chris Paul's Phoenix Suns. And I say that because the offense is such a problem right now. Their offense in the postseason, the Suns, would be the worst offense in the regular season, period. And they're not attacking Nikola Jokic's weakness, which is defense down low. They're over-indexing on the mid-range in a way that is clearly unsustainable at this point. And then their bench, they had 7 guys score a total of 6 points. I mean, it all feels like they are ill-equipped to use their personnel in the way that they need to, and they don't have enough of the personnel that they need. So, yes, give me the Nuggets, who seem to be tireless and amazing when it comes to actually knowing what they need to do to win.
Ramon, I'll go to you. I think you want to correct Pablo's bench stat. Go ahead.
The Suns had 4 bench points. 4! Like, 4 bench points. I didn't even know that was possible to have 4. To me, you're never going to win any game there when you have nothing from your bench that way. And Cameron Payne is going to be better. He's just coming back from an injury. He actually had a couple of good games with them during their run to the NBA Finals a couple of years ago. And so if Chris Paul's not able to go, which he didn't sound good after the game with the groin injury, Cam Payne is going to have to play like he did in 2021. I just don't think Phoenix has enough depth. They just traded one too many guys in the Kevin Durant trade, and they like to complain about free throws. There's not getting calls. You're on the road, of course, but you also have to get to the lane. You have to get to the basket. And when you're a jump shooting team, you don't get a lot of calls. And when you have Kevin Durant, who's normally a great shooter from the field, missing 10 3-pointers, it was a disaster for Phoenix.
Maybe some think that's an outlier. Maybe some think they get home and they get some of those calls and they make free throws. Yeah. Series doesn't start till the home team loses. David, is Phoenix in a position here they can turn this around?
If I'm Phoenix, the good thing I'm looking at, the bright side here, is that they were 1 for 15 on wide open threes. So you have to think when you get home, some of those will start falling. You got to feel like that's an anomaly. The problem here is when the series started, you felt like the Suns were going to struggle defensively against the Nuggets. Nobody imagined this level of offensive utility from this squad and lack of imagination or plays. Where's the Booker KD pick and rolls? Where's the movement? Why is somebody sitting on the corner? And they were outscored 41-28 when Chris Paul went out. But you should still be able to generate offense with Booker and Kevin Durant out there. And this was a game with Murray shooting 20% from the field. You have to find a way to win this game.
And Israel Gutierrez, I mean, this is unanimous right now that Phoenix, the series is really in a tough spot for them.
Yeah. Well, I've been saying it since the playoffs started. The Suns, their failures or their weak spots will be exposed as the playoffs go on because they haven't been together long enough and they're not deep enough. We see it all the time with these teams that build these big threes. Miami in 2010, in their first 20 games, had a game where they had 2 points off the bench. It was just Eddie House with 1 bucket. 2 points. And so these things happen. You just can't figure these things out through the playoffs. And so, yeah, maybe they'll have a game where both Durant and Devin Booker go off at home and they can win a game, but you need the DeAndre Aytons, right? One of those top 4. You need him to be a defensive tough guy. You need him to be a rebounder. There's clips of him just watching other teammates and Nikola Jokic go at it on the boards. He needs to be tougher. You need to not be injured, and Chris Paul's groin is injured right now. So the slightest thing that goes wrong from this group, it's going to be exposed and made worse than it is, and that's what's happening right now. It's not going to look good if Chris Paul's not healthy.
Exposed groin there. Tough. Phrasing reality. Phrasing. Mama, I'll give you the last word.
You know, we're going to have the MVP in a couple of hours
Yes.
here. Why are we doing it today? Why? Like, Denver just
You know
played
what?
two
Let's
home
talk about
games.
that when we come back from buy or sell. Under any circumstances.
Oh.
Yes.
Unless we don't have time.
None of the finalists are playing. Giannis is already out of the playoffs. Embiid saw his team win without him last night. Jokic had a great game. Ramona, you think this is odd? So I assume you're selling, but buy or sell tonight's announcement, and then who you got?
Yeah, I'm selling this. Like, it used to be on an off day before the home game of the winter. And a lot of times a local newspaper would break it the night before, and everybody would have time to go to that home playoff game and celebrate their MVP. What's going on? Jokic just played 2 games in Denver. The Sixers are in Boston right now. They're not coming home until later. And Giannis is already out of the playoffs. We're doing it for TV, I guess, now. It's for TNT. They have the games Monday
They're
to
not all
Wednesday.
going to be together, though, right? This is going to be a Zoom
No,
announcement
they
on
all
top
have to
of
set
that,
up
right? Yeah.
They're literally doing Zoom calls for all 3 guys.
Who you got,
And they
Ramona?
don't even know. I think Embiid's winning. I think it's his year. He closed strong, and Jokic kind of faded at the end of the regular season.
David Dennis Jr.?
You know how we have an award where we don't have to remind everybody this is a regular season award? Give it to them at the end of the regular season. You have multiple days between the regular season and the playoffs where you have a play-in tournament. You tabulate. It doesn't take you that long to tabulate votes. It's not like you got hanging chads. Just pick the votes, give the award before the first game of the playoffs so you don't have the embarrassment that Giannis could potentially have or that Dirk had 15 years ago where you're already out of the playoffs and it's a bittersweet award for you.
What do you got, David?
I got Embiid, better defender through the year and closed out stronger.
Israel Gutierrez.
I've got Embiid also. I think the margins are razor thin, and therefore he just kind of deserves one. It kind of makes me change my thinking on MVPs. But I do have a little bit of an answer for some of the questions, some of the issues with the MVP and the postseason awards. Why don't we have an all-NBA postseason team? Like an all-NBA postseason team highlighted by the finals MVP and then whoever else you throw on there so you get recognized for your postseason play, which is what guys' legacies are built on, right? Not the regular season. And the NBA is all about giving out awards. We should have one more list of teams, the all-NBA postseason team.
So close to banning a word you used there. I am going to go ahead and do it right there. I'm not going to say what it was, but you're taking an L, Gutierrez, for that. We had this conversation 37 times this season, whether a guy could win it 3 years in a row with a team, yada, 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 or if it's someone else's turn. Pablo, go ahead.
Speaking of timing, it's just funny timing that finally everybody realizes that Joel Embiid, as I've been saying, is the best player in the NBA. It's funny that it took all of this time, yes, this delayed
Okay. You don't need to make a picture of
production,
that, but
to finally acknowledge that the guy is better offensively than Nikola Jokic. He's better offensively than Giannis. He's better defensively than both. Guess what? No one can do everything that he can do. He's Godzilla. And finally, yes, you're letting him actually get the award he deserves. Thank you for your kindness.
Buy or sell 2 under any circumstances. All right, this story blows your mind. The Memphis Grizzlies will not be bringing back Dylan Brooks. Quote, under any circumstances unquote, according to a report from Shams Charania. Under any circumstances, been trending all day, David. Buy or sell that, buy or sell this step in fixing what's wrong with Memphis.
I mean, I'm buying that Dillon Brooks shouldn't come back on this team, but under any circumstances, my goodness, like if the Grizzlies got sucked in a wormhole, there's nobody left, you're still not bringing this guy back. Like, those are some painful words that seem a little bit unnecessary and a little bit scapegoaty. I know he asked for it by some of the things he said, but he's not, getting rid of him is not going to fix all of those problems. You lost the last game by 40 points. It's going to take a lot more than getting rid of one loudmouth poke bear type of guy to fix all of that.
Israel Gutierrez?
Oof. Selling so hard. What an abandonment this is. Over what? Some trash talk? Look, this guy has been a starter for your team since he got to this team, since he got to the league outside of his second season where he didn't start the 18 games he played in. This is a guy who took all the attention away from Ja Morant, who, by the way, had the most damaging trash talk of your season when he said, we're fine with the West a week into the season, okay? You had Ja Morant's back the entire time while he was going through all this nonsense. And the second you're done with this series, you're done with him. Now, I know the Grizzlies aren't happy with the way that came out, but come on, show some support for the guy who has been supporting you since he got into the league.
Okay, so while you think Dillon Brooks did quite a bit to scapegoat himself in talking to LeBron, you think the team is scapegoating him for Ja Morant's deficiencies this season. Pablo Torre, you?
Yeah, Ja Morant was 3 of 16 in that 40-point blowout. I mean, Ja Morant is the guy who actually had a scandal that verged into the serious. Now, I will say Dillon Brooks was so bad of a heel that he made LeBron James look popular in a way that felt almost like an inside job. It also now makes me think like this is actually just getting us to finally praise Dillon Brooks. They've gone so far in that direction that I'm actually empathetic toward a guy who got no empathy.
You are,
for the
okay.
entire
And
postseason.
Ramona Shelburne, under any circumstances?
Look, they're not parting ways with him because he poked the bear. Like, LeBron was always going to be
They're not?
LeBron.
That he
No.
made it all look like a
They're parting
joke when
ways
they
with
were
him.
getting run off the court?
He shot 31% in the series, Tone. I mean, like, he was last year against the Warriors. He was like the Warriors' best player. He was so bad shooting from the field. Like, Pablo, you want to show support for him? You want to pay him $25 million a year? Because that's what he wants. It's not. That's why they're parting ways. with
Oh,
him.
he shot 31%, and he had the worst case of trash talking that we've seen, at least this season.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
One more. You never hear that, though. You never hear a team go that hard against somebody as they say. Now, tonight, Lakers-Warriors. Let's go. It's the dream matchup. You know about LeBron versus Curry. Maybe Draymond will ask off from the team to watch LeBron play in this one. History and rotations and matchups, Israel. What do you see as the deciding factor in this series under any circumstances?
The Lakers being able to defend Steph Curry over a 7-game series and having that sort of stamina and keeping Anthony Davis healthy, which is always a question.
You think the Lakers can do that?
I don't think they will. I think they can, but I think the Warriors will win this.
Pablo Torre.
Oh, it's Kevon Looney to me. 3 20-rebound games. Anthony Davis is going to help defend Steph Curry, meaning that Looney will have the paint all to himself. That dude, to me, is the obvious X factor.
Looney, the X factor. Shelburne.
Look, Anthony Davis has to be the best player in the series for the Lakers to win this, and he's going to go against one Kevon Looney and Draymond Green, 2 great interior defenders. I think it's a tough matchup.
David Dennis Jr.
Surprisingly, Wardell, Stephen Curry, and the fact that the Lakers have no answer for
shocking.
him, and they were gassed at the end of last series against the Grizzlies. They're going to be gassed chasing him around. They got to figure out how to defend him on the perimeter.
Everybody has Golden State in this series, okay?
We're crazy. We're all picking against LeBron.
7.
We deserve whatever
The
comes
higher
to us.
seed.
Well, what's coming to you right now is a showdown. Shelburne, Torre, next. Rookie with a Game 7 shutout. All of New York's moves and desperation for not. Devils damning the Rangers to eternity. Pablo, take away.
Yeah, Akira Schmid, man, he took over as the full-time goaltender mid-series. He had 2 shutouts. That dude came out of nowhere to be the best thing on the ice. So give me it to him.
Ramona Shelburne, you still studying?
Look, talent doesn't mean a thing. You can do all the trades you want, but if you can't score goals, you're not going to win. And in this series, like the 4 games that the Devils won, they gave up 2 goals. 2 goals, that's some great defense.
And goaltending, Akira Schmid, man, as Pablo
What a
just
name.
said, will give him the point. Showdown 2. It's a baseball-sized knot attached to the ankle of Jimmy Butler. That's what we've heard since Game 1. The latest on his availability tonight, questionable. But for the Knicks, Julius Randle has an ankle. He's questionable. Jalen Brunson has an ankle. He's questionable. Actually, Ramon, everybody has ankles. But how will tonight be won? And is it a must-win for the Knicks?
I think it's pretty musty. This is the second game in the Garden here. I think Jimmy Butler can do anything. I don't think he should play tonight. I do think he will try to play tonight. And if Jimmy plays, I'm worried about your Knicks tone.
If Jalen Brunson is suboptimal tonight, this does not have the feeling of a plausible, positive outcome for the Knicks. Like, that dude, they needed him. They don't have Randall. Like, good Lord.
Ramona, great to have you back.
Wait, what?
Pablo, 30 seconds of FaceTime.
A plausible, positive outcome for you boys. So I wanted to use this time to shout out the over 11,000 Hollywood writers currently striking. The Writers Guild of America was in this long, protracted war, negotiation with all of the media companies who provide us, allegedly, with the content that we love, except it's actually these writers who are toiling, who are giving us entertainment. So pay them! Pay the writers! Is this so hard? Remember what it was like in 07? You're watching cavemen. You're watching Cohen spin his wedding ring on his desk.
We're on a line.